And then it happened, Book 7, Chapter 2, The Stampede. One sunny autumn day, Gordon, Paul and I found ourselves in the emergency room at the hospital, along with our principal, most of our teachers, and a dozen students from our school. Fortunately, no one was seriously hurt. We just had minor cuts, bruises and sprains. Gordon, Paul and I were the last to be seen by the doctor. As he stitched up a cut on Gordon's arm, he said, So you're the kid who is responsible for sending everyone caught up in that stampede. What? Us? We cried out. We didn't do anything wrong, added Gordon. That's not what the principal said, chuckled the doctor, or your teacher, and all those kids I bandaged up. It wasn't our fault, insisted Gordon. Here's what really happened. A new pet store had recently opened in town. As part of its grand opening celebration, the owners were sponsoring a pet talent contest for the students of our school. Entry was free, and the owner of the pet that did the best trick would win a $200 grand prize. $200 is a lot of money, and Gordon, Paul and I decided right then and there that we were going to win the grand prize. All of the students were given entry forms with the rules printed on the back. Gordon, Paul and I filled in our names and carefully read the rules. Said Gordon. It says the teachers are going to judge the talent show. And the pets will be judged on two things, added Paulo. Originality of the trick and the difficulty of the trick. Well, I said, we'll have to come up with something so original and so different that even the teachers won't have seen it before. Paul and I both turned to Gordon and waited. We were depending on him to come up with something really spectacular and show-stopping. Gordon did not let us down. By the end of the school day, he had come up with a plan that was truly original and sure to win the $200 grand prize. As we rode home with Paulo on the bus to the Lima family farm, he outlined his plan, and once again, Paulo and I were impressed. When the bus reached the farm, we hurried off and raced toward the cow pasture. Now, everyone knows that cows are not at the head of the line when it comes to animal intelligence. As a matter of fact, most people would agree that cows, well, they're pretty dumb creatures. You see, reasoned Gordon, if we can teach a bunch of dumb cows to do a really cool trick, we'll win that prize for sure. With just 1 week until the contest, there was no time to waste. We separated what we believed were the 10 smartest looking cows from the rest of the herd and put them in their own special field. We worked for 3 hours every day after school to train them. It was the hardest work we'd ever done. It took 2 days of sweating and grunting just to teach the 10 cows to stand in a straight line, side by side, on command. It took another day to get them to sit down on command. Next came the real trick. Gordon stood in front of the line of sitting cows and pulled a bell from his pocket. He rang it once, and the cows, with much poking and prodding from Paul and me, stood up. Then Gordon rang the bell twice, and the cows began to slowly walk towards Gordon's outstretched hand, which held some lovely fresh alfalfa as a reward. Gordon then rang the bell 3 times, and the cows trotted toward the end of the pasture where they all sat down, still in a nice neat line. It was a fantastic trick. Day after day we practiced, and soon the cows were trained to perform the trick without any reward from Gordon or any poking and prodding from Paul and me. They became conditioned to the sound of the bell and responded eagerly when they heard it. On the first ring, the 10 cows would rise gracefully from their sitting position. Patiently, they'd wait until Gordon rang the bell twice. Then the line of cows would walk slowly toward him. When Gordon rang the bell 3 times, the cows picked up their pace and trotted toward him. When he held up his hand, the cows all sat down again, still in a neat line. It was a beautiful trick, guaranteed to win the $200 grand prize. Finally, the day of the pet contest arrived. At 2:00, the students were told to go home and bring their pets back to where the contest would take place in the soccer field behind the playground. Gordon, Paul, and I hopped on our bikes and pedalled quickly to the Lima farm. We got the cows to sit in their line, and Gordon rang the bell once. The cows stood up and waited expectantly. Gordon rang the bell twice, and the cows moved slowly toward Gordon. He rang the bell 3 times, and the cows trotted toward Gordon. The cows followed us down the long driveway, onto the road, and right into town. 15 minutes later, we arrived at school and led the cows to the back of the schoolyard, where they sat down in the shade to rest. While we waited for our turn in the pet talent show, we joined the rest of the spectators. Chairs had been set up in 2 rows for the teachers who would judge the contest. The kids who were not participating in the contest sat on the grass to one side of the teachers, while those with pets sat on the other side. For half an hour, we watched as dogs were paraded in front of the teachers and made to sit, lie down, roll over. A few played dead, and one toy poodle even did somersaults. The teachers clapped politely and graded each pet on its performance. There was a cat who could walk on its hind legs, a lizard whose only trick was sticking out his blue tongue to capture crickets, and a budgie that could sing the first line of the national anthem. Gordon, Paul, and I grinned at each other. There was no way any of these tricks could come close to beating us. That prize money was as good as ours. Since our pets were the largest by far, our trick had been left to the end of the show. When our turn finally came, we herded the cows to within 30 metres of the teachers and made them lie down in their neat row. So far, so good. We stood beside Gordon as he rang the bell once. The cows stood up in unison. This brought murmurs of approval from the teachers and applause from the students. Gordon rang the bell twice, and the cows all slowly marched forward. Then he rang it 3 times, and the cows began to trot. By now, everyone was very impressed, and it was clear that we had the most difficult and original trick in the show. Mrs. Hogsworth looked proud that 3 of her students had such an amazing trick. So, and then it happened, Gordon told the doctor, who was stitching up his arm. And then what happened? Asked the doctor. Well, said Gordon wistfully, if that darn ice cream truck hadn't come speeding by, ringing its bell like crazy, we would have won the contest for sure. Next chapter tomorrow.